responding here. Most agents in our brokerage are going to fall between that 11 and 30 transaction range just in general. So I'm not surprised to see a few more people responding there. Most people want mindset and motivation change. Maybe not surprising coming out of the past 2 years.
That's great to hear, though. I'm really excited that people are kind of like recognizing how significant mindset is and motivation is for hitting the goals you want to hit. I don't think very many agents give that a whole lot of time.
Yeah, it's interesting when I just think about the answers to this question that we put in, which I think it was you or Champ created this last year, maybe, or Ben.
Mm-hmm.
But like getting more business from your sphere, unless you're just starting out as a new agent, a lot of time that's not about changing many more things. Like you have to change your mindset and motivation in order to unlock those other things. So yeah, it makes sense. Better conversion from my sphere is the only thing that people are saying is the biggest opportunity for business growth. So, well, you're in the right place because that's pretty much all JP Woman. That's our absolute top focus.
Well, if you hit that hard, leads and referrals kind of take care of themselves.
Yeah, unless you're doing a bunch of paid lead gen, but that's a different game.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, welcome. Thank you all for attending today. This is going to be Brian and I kind of sharing some of what we think we're going to see in the next year. I don't think we're really big on predictions in general. I like to guess, but guesses are not predictions. A lot of people think when I guess at things that they are actual predictions. Like my wife will ask me a question, and in my mind, I'm like, she wants an answer. It doesn't have to be the perfect answer. She wants an answer, so I'll make it up. Then I get in trouble because I'm not being accurate. But that's what I need to work on. So I'll tell you when the things I'm saying in this webinar are guesses and not based on like some kind of data or actual expert input.
Here's the thing, though, is that a lot of our clients ask us for predictions, right? I mean, you're in this business long enough and you know that your clients are going to ask you to predict the future. And you also know that you can't predict the future and that every spring is like, wow, we didn't see that coming. And but they're going to ask you anyway. So you want to have something to say.
Yeah. And I mean, that's kind of like the job of the consultant, right?
Right.
Every real estate agent is essentially a consultant. They're being hired by someone to solve a specific problem they have. And they're being hired because they can answer questions or provide some kind of insight on it. So it makes sense. So some of the things we're going to be covering today, Brian's going to start out talking a little bit about the why, which is essentially what he was just referencing, mindset, motivation. And then we'll both cover some trends to know. I'll talk about marketing goals, and then Brian's going to talk about touch calendars. Which is kind of a newer concept. I'm interested that you decided to include that, Brian. Can you just say like a word on that?
Well, honestly, it's been something that I've just been thinking about for myself because I'm so big on time efficiency. I'm always looking for ways to stop bleeding time all over the place because time is money and you can't make more of it. And so I feel like, as you and I, Cooper, have been thinking more about how to get agents more engaged in social media for business. And as we went to Inman, I started thinking a lot about, how could you come up with enough good, like how can you do some of the work on the front end instead of every week spending so much time creating social media content and thinking about what you want to put on social media. And a touch calendar is just a concept I wanted to float to see if it'd be useful for people.
Yeah, I like it. I can dig it.
Yep. Okay, so big why. Many of you will be familiar with the concept of a big why, and if you haven't heard this term before, you can kind of guess at what it is. This comes straight out of the Gary Keller world. If you haven't read Millionaire Real Estate Agent, that book is right up there with Ninja Selling in terms of the most important real estate business books you can read. If you haven't read one or both of those are both things to put in your Christmas stocking for yourself and get those read as soon as you can. One of the things Gary Keller says in that book is that he says one thing high achievers have in common. He says all high achievers have in common is that they're working for a big why. In other words, they're really clear on the question of what motivates them. Now, big whys, I mean, this feeds right into the motivation and mindset thing we were just talking about before we started. Big whys are both crucial and difficult to come up with. having a why am I doing this? What is this all for? That's big enough to drive your business consistently and over the course of years is difficult to come up with. But I think that right now, December, as things are a little bit slower and as we're gearing up toward 2022, if you want a strong mindset and motive going into 2022, it's essential that you set aside some time to think about, what is it that I'm doing here? What is this for? And obviously, when it comes to big whys, when it comes to big motivations, the more specific and focused you can be, the better. Now, the reason I said big whys are hard to come up with is because it's like, what do I dream of for my life that I can be specific and focused about that's big enough to drive me for years? Now, I've heard things like people will say, I want financial freedom by the time I'm 55. I don't want to have to work. Or by the time I'm 45 or 50 or whatever the age is, I want to be able to work as much as I want to work. Or I want to be able to give my kids X. I want to be able to give my family Y. Those really big things. Or I want to be able to start a charitable foundation. Or even things as sort of undefined as I want to be the best I can possibly be, are all good big whys. And one of the things that I'll toss in about big whys is I think that more general big whys, like financial freedom by a certain age, or being the best me I can be, I think that more vague big whys are okay if they are built on top of a bunch of little whys that are very specific. In other words, I think that coming up with specific whys for even a year are really great. Like this year, I want to make enough money so that my financial situation is stable, and I can save enough to purchase my first rental property in 2023. And I want to take my family to Disney World or whatever. Things like that, the little whys for the year, I think are really valuable because they give us something super specific we can drive at that maybe can feed into a big why. And I'll say this about big whys. This will be the last thing I say. I think that big whys don't have to have anything to do with money. In fact, I kind of think that they shouldn't have anything to do with money. Focusing on money and numbers can actually hold you back. We need to ask the question, why do we want the money that we want? One of my first sales trainers years ago at Comcast, he told me that he really impressed upon me the concept that money is just a number until you do something with it. And it's the thing you're going to do with it that will drive you. Money is a tool, right? So we have to stop treating it as the goal. We have to think of it as a tool, not the goal. And the reason I think it can hold you back is because a lot of agents have some sense of how much money they need to bring in. Maybe you've got a specific budget, or maybe you just have sort of an idea of how much you need to make life work. But the problem is that, and all of us, would love to have more money than what we need, but without a clear focus on what we want to do with that money, whether it's a little why for the year or a big why for your life, once we have a fairly clear idea of how much money we need, what I see is that tends to become the de facto goal. It tends to become the thing that you get the most focused on. And if we only focus on what we need, then we're never going to exceed we're never going to find out how much we can actually do, right? The problem with money, especially when we're just focused on what we think we need, is it's incapable of making you happy. Money's just a number until you do things with it that benefit you, your family, or others. And so I want to encourage you to take even just one afternoon this month to think about and to jot down on paper, even some ideas for what your big why might be, and maybe some little whys that you can pursue in 2022 that will help add up to the big why. All right.
I have two reflections on that, Brian, just to give like some examples of people that I've seen that do or don't do this. So one is when you talked about having money be your goal and how that's kind of sometimes can be kind of crippling. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to name who it is, but there's someone in my life who I know they're a workaholic, and forever their main motivator has been money so they can support their family. And what has happened over time is that you become dependent on that as your motivation, and you become kind of incapable, or it becomes much more difficult to have other motivations. Mm-hmm. And so I think, like you said, you become kind of tunnel vision on it, and, and then you have no ability to be happy because all you do is work to get money. It's kind of
Well, yeah,
brutal.
and
Like
honestly,
you build your own prison.
yeah, that's a good word for it. I mean, I'm a family man. I want to support my family, of course, but you can get to the point, and I'm sure some of us have experienced this. You can get to the point where if your only big why is I want to pay the bills and provide for my family, work and family can almost become this sort of slave master. And you're not excited about it. You're not excited about paying the bills and taking care of your family. You know you have to do it, but you're not excited about it. A big why should excite us, even if it's a yearly little why, like I want to go to Disney World, or I want to buy a rental property, or I want to whatever. You have to find something that's going to push you through the year, not just an obligation that you have to fulfill.
Yeah. The other little story I have is my father and stepmom, they kind of did this crazy thing where they decided at some point that even though they have adult children, and me and my sister, that they're also going to adopt a bunch of kids. So I have 5 little brothers who are all adopted, ranging from 7 to 22. And every year, my wife and I take all of them, and they come over to our house. The kids come to our house for a whole weekend, and we get my parents' dog to come too. My parents just go away, and they do basically this. They reflect, and they come up with some of their values and their vision and their why for the year. And out of that weekend, they basically end up making a whole bunch of life changes every year. They kind of reset themselves. And I think what's important about that is I see them, they don't feel like they're capable of thinking that way in their normal life context, right? So they need my wife and I, in some cases, to help by them to break out, right, of every day, of the urgent matters. So I think that's something that I would encourage you guys to do, is like find that maybe someone who can help you, or have a trip, a certain type of a trip that you go on, where you can just dedicate time to getting your brain out of your day-to-day stuff, your week-to-week stuff, so you can really focus on the big thinking, sorting out your priorities, and coming up with your actual motivators. Because I think it's hard to do that when you're in your house, surrounded by kids, and you have a meeting to go to in an hour and stuff like that. So
don't skip this step. Everyone on this call, basically, who responded to the survey, said, I want help with mindset. This is where it starts. Why the hell are you doing all this work? You got to get clarity on that. Take time to do that this month.
Yeah.
One afternoon of work. It was like one afternoon of work on a big why can power you for the entire year if you really lock down what you're excited to accomplish.
Absolutely. All right, let's get into some trends. At Inman, people talked a lot about bubbles and the market, and it was funny because the data showed that the vast majority of real estate agents think we're in a housing bubble, but every economist, expert, CEO was like, no, none of the data points in that direction. So once again, we can't really predict stuff, but if you look at the data predictions for home values for 2022, they are all over the place. There's some big headlines that say double-digit home value growth in the next year is what's predicted, which is crazy, coming off of the year we just had. So Zillow, Goldman Sachs both are predicting at least a 10% increase in home value in 2022. But there's just as many big companies, CoreLogic, Redfin, all of their data analysis points to like low single digit or a decrease in home value in the next year. And then you've got like Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, that are actually predicting like somewhere in the middle. So your guess is as good as ours and as good as the experts and the huge billion-dollar companies that are putting resources into this. But I think at the end of the day, like, we all have to make our own predictions, but regardless of those predictions, you can't be like crippled by them. Like if you look at this little bubble soccer GIF, like the people that get knocked over, the people that are just kind of standing there, carefully tapping the ball at their feet, they get knocked over by somebody who's screaming in from the side. And you want to be that, the guy on the blue ball that just bounces off and knocks everybody over. So I think the key is just to be active and run. You can win by just being tireless for your clients, because work might be harder now in some ways, but when it gets easier in the future, you'll just be that much better at it if you're able to dominate in that challenging market.
There was a exceptional article. If anyone's interested, it came out on Monday, the 29th, from Fortune Magazine, Fortune Magazine's online platform. If anyone is interested, let me see if I still have it up. I can send it. Oh yeah, where the housing market is this the one?
Because Brian keeps all of his tabs open for.
I do. I'm the worst. I'm the guy with 30 tabs open.
I love it when I'm collaborating on a presentation like this with Brian, because it appears that he's working on that presentation. You can see who else is in there. It appears that he works on it for just like days straight.
Yes, I do. I do work on it for days straight, Cooper. FortuneMagazine.com or Fortune.com, where the housing market is going in 2022 as told by 7 leading forecast models. So if you're interested, and if you know your client's going to ask you this question, which they're going to, that's a great article. It kind of breaks down why seven different economic models are forecasting what they're forecasting. And like Cooper said, most of them are forecasting pretty substantial growth. There's a couple that are saying like pullback, but nobody's saying bubble.
Yeah. So yeah, that article is where I'm actually pulling this data from.
Kind of figured.
So if you want the background and the citations, go and you can actually just look up 2022 real estate predictions.
Here, I'll just post it in the chat.
Or Fortune, and then you'll find it. Okay, Brian, we'll give you the link here. But yeah, so I guess when we say not a bubble, that's because no one is predicting that home values are going to drop by 20%. The worst prediction is low single digit decreases. So like a couple percent decrease is the worst, but that's not a bubble. A bubble pops, which means precipitous decrease.
Honestly, a small increase would be good for the buyers out there anyway. So no matter what happens, this is going to be a big year if you approach it correctly.
For sure. The next thing, and this is just like some stats that they're kind of crazy, because I think when I heard this stat, and this is from the NAR annual buyer and seller survey, when I heard the stat, it kind of broke some of my beliefs about the way real estate works. But 93% of clients say they will work with the same realtor, which is probably what has been driving my beliefs about loyalty. But only 13% actually work with the same realtor the next time they do a transaction. So, some of that's driven by just the high turnover rate in real estate agents in general. But only 13% of people actually work with the same real estate agent. That means that huge percentage of people are unhappy, or the last agent they work with didn't do what they needed to do to stay in touch with them, and somebody else swooped in with a different value proposition.
That's it.
And won them away. And that is exactly how you can, be in that 13%. Have your clients be the people that are going to come back, the next time they do a transaction, which might be a decade in the future, 5 to 10 years in the future, more than likely. You have to stay in touch with them. And the only effective ways to do that and efficient ways to do that are newsletters and social media.
This is something Connie Stagor and I talked about in our agent spotlight video yesterday. We were talking about how research has shown that consumers can hold 7 brands in their mind. You can remember 7 brands of potato chips on average, but only 2 of them are ever going to be top of mind. This is what the research shows. You only got room for 2 preferred options in the brands you can remember. And once you finish the real estate transaction with a client, even if it's a great transaction, you got like a month before they have forgotten how great the experience was. And the next time they're looking for a realtor, you have to make sure you're in that top 2 in terms of mind share, because everyone's receiving information all the time from real estate agents. And so following up, like, these clients who you've served well should be in the bag for you as clients the next time they go to buy or sell in 5 to 7 years, just by you being in front of them. And the only way you're not going to be in the top 2 is if you don't stay in front of them.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about, like, say you're only sending a monthly newsletter. Newsletters are great because there's like a 99% deliverability rate, which means you're getting in their inbox at least. So they see that they have an email from you, whether they open it or not. 99% of the time you get in front of them, right? So you're doing that 12 times a year. So they're seeing you 12 times a year after you have transacted with them. How many times per year is your average client seeing a Redfin ad, a Zillow ad, an ad for some other local team? How often? I don't just think about the Pomerleau team. How often, if they listen to the radio, are they hearing Pomerleau team ads? Not that Pomerleau team is stealing any of your clients, but like they have a good marketing strategy by which to just be in front of people a little bit more than whoever else they've used in the past, other companies are probably getting more touches on your clients than you are if you're only hitting them once a month. So you got to ramp that way up, and we'll dig into that in a second.
The good news, though, as everyone knows, is phone calls to your clients, like good quality touches, are going to win out over Pomerleau team ads or Chris Lindahl billboards every single time.
Yeah. Well, because if you think about brands, right? What brands are always trying to do in their marketing is they're trying to create a persona. They're trying to create feelings and memories and concepts that you associate with their brand. Like really good brand advertising doesn't tell you about the value of the product. It tells you about how it makes you feel by showing you images, like Coca-Cola and stuff like that. I saw an LL Bean ad the other day that was just basically like a happy family in a cozy living room with a dog, and they're all wearing LL Bean stuff. And that's what I associate LL Bean with. It's like kind of cozy fireside, this kind of like lifestyle that I want, so that's successful. They're trying to make the brand into a person. You already are a person. You have a relationship. You have all that other information in their brain about who you are that you can leverage, but you have to stay in touch with them as a human being. I just love this Office quote where Dwight says, "I will go where they value loyalty the most." All right, this is another kind of crazy stats. Like in the last 5 years, the percentage of leads that close in 180 days has dropped by more than half. So you got like a 2.1% conversion rate essentially on online leads. And that's dropped in half in the last 6 years. But only 45% of clients work with an agent they already were connected to, which means 55% of clients are basically finding an agent they have no connection to via the internet. Either that or they're opening up the Yelp pages and just, I don't know, like pointing. I don't know if realtors even in the Yelp pages. They probably aren't. But like,
are there Yelp pages anymore? I don't even know if there are.
I don't know. You got to be able to get it, right?
55% of the market is up for grabs.
Yeah, that's insane, right? And online conversion rates have dropped. So leads are dominating, but they suck. The conversion rate's crazy low. It's super hard. It's never been harder to convert online leads. That's what the Pomerleau team is dealing with. It's one of their toughest years ever for online lead conversion. So I'm working with them, and they're doing a bunch of new things to like get different lead sources and stuff like that. But that's the case. And I mean, that's not going to change, right? More money is just going to go into marketing direct to consumer to turn them from a relationship into a lead that they can then be sold off essentially to someone else. And that conversion rate is not going to go up either, because the number of companies entering the market that are going to be doing marketing direct to consumer for real estate is increasing. The big thing in Inman was they said on the finance side, with Rocket Mortgage, they're starting to market direct to consumer with like Super Bowl ads. So people are going to go to Rocket Mortgage, and Rocket Mortgage is going to sell them as a lead to a real estate agent. So you have other industries coming in to the market as well.
Yeah.
But all the more reason why you just have to have strong relationships in marketing.
The thing I want to say about leads, though, Cooper, is online leads do suck, but they suck in comparison to Sphere. They don't suck in comparison to like direct mail. They don't suck in comparison to door knocking conversion. They don't suck in comparison to calling expireds. So don't give up on your online leads. Just don't make those your bread and butter.
Yeah, well, it's not gonna. You can't just. We have a couple of agents, unfortunately, that have these like unicorn experiences where they're like, I'll try Zillow leads, and they get like 5 of them, and one of them closes, or like, I'll try some paid leads, and they get like, like basically have like a 20% conversion rate or something. What happens to those agents is the next 100 leads they get, they don't convert anything. They just happen to hit that one conversion really early. But that's just not the case. Leads are just tough, right? And you have to have an efficient system by which to get them and then manage them.
Yeah.
All right. Agents who win. I just love Chris Farley and Tommy Boy. But they're agents that never stop. That doesn't mean you don't have good work-life balance, but that means that you're constantly putting yourself in front of people that constant posting to social media, doing newsletters ceaselessly and without fail every month, doing some kind of direct touch quarterly, whether that's like a social media direct message or a phone call, doing sphere events. We have like 2 ready-made sphere events for you per year. It's like over 300 pies we gave out, or our agents gave out rather. We just help. That was like last week. And then we have the date night to go, which will be in the spring. So just do those. It's pretty easy. We do all the marketing for you. All you have to do is send us a list of people, basically. And then the last thing is just like, if you're not doing all those things to stay in touch with your sphere, the only other alternative is to like generate a lot of leads and have insanely good and automated follow-up on them, right? Which is a little bit more like the team structure, which obviously some of you are doing a great job with. But, 2 sides to the same coin. Either you're super active in your sphere with all these types of touches, or you're super active with leads and follow-up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now I get to get on my soapbox, which I basically don't step off of it. Let's be honest. Well, let's talk about marketing goals. The first thing I think you need to do when you look out to 2022 is to set your priorities. And this is the order in which I would say almost every agent needs to set their marketing goal priorities. And I'm talking about sphere marketing here, okay? Number 1, your database. When I say your database, I'm talking about that list that hopefully is in KV Core. If it's not, let me know. We'll get you set up in KV Core. But that list of people's personal information that you have. Names are not enough. You need an email and a phone number, and ideally an address, and ideally a birthday. Like the more information you have on people, the better you're going to be able to connect to them. But you might have a database that's too small. We'll talk in a second about how big it should be. But what I'm finding with a lot of people is they have a good number of names, maybe 300 names, A's, B's, and C's, but they only have emails for a handful of them. Or they don't have phone numbers, or they have home addresses. So like, it's the winter, put on a Christmas movie and, put on your LL Bean flannel and just start filling in information. You have it all on your cell phone. It's in that other spreadsheet that you use to send your Christmas cards. You have that information somewhere. People's emails, phone numbers, addresses, just get them all in the same place, because your database is really like the number of people for whom you have complete contact information for, not just names. Then from there, you have your audience sizes, which are the people that follow you on social media and are in your newsletter database. If your normal database is complete with emails, then that's your newsletter database, right? You have that many email contacts. But on social media, I was talking to an agent the other day, and their Sphere database is really good quality. 600 to 700 people. He's got the emails for all of them. That's great. But his social media followership is actually about 120, right? So that's the number of people that you're able to really effectively market to consistently, one-to-many. It's like 120, 180, not 700. So you might have a big database, but your audience is actually really small. So you might need to work on increasing the size of your social media audiences. Then once you have those things done, which is your platform, those are the people you can sell real estate to, then you start marketing to them. Monthly newsletters, 1 a month. If you want help with that, let me know. We can get you into the Reach program, where basically you just send us your content and we do all the design and all that stuff for you. Facebook and Instagram posting every day. Start with Facebook. It's the easiest. Then move into Instagram. You can watch the Instagram masterclass video that we did a couple weeks ago to talk all about Instagram. But start on Facebook and then go to Instagram. Facebook is just more important. Most people have more contacts there.
One just really small tip about database and your monthly newsletter in terms of I think one of the things that agents tend to have the biggest trouble with when they're building out their database and getting everyone in there is just kind of remembering the people that they know and remembering who they've because you can remember, maybe the 50 people who are going to be closest to you, family members and close friends and stuff like that. One of the things that I did recently is I just went this is going to sound crazy, but it's really helpful. I went into Gmail, into my personal Gmail, and I used the autofill feature. The Gmail has autofill. You type an A, and all of the possible addresses that you've ever emailed that have an A in them tend to come up. And I would just type A, and I'd look at the list. I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot about him. I forgot about her. And then I'd do B, and I'd say, oh, who is that? And I don't even remember who that is. And I'd copy the email address into my email search bar, and I'd search what did we interact about? And I'd see kind of some emails of an email address I didn't remember and be like, oh my gosh, he was on like, that was one of the parents of the kids I coached in basketball last year, or that was whatever. And it was a great way for me to remind myself, honestly, probably of 100 people that I had kind of left out of my database that I definitely would feel comfortable getting in touch with and marketing to.
You know, the thing that pops in my mind immediately when you talk about that person, Brian, the parent of the kid you coached in basketball last year, is it's going to be awkward to connect with them.
For sure.
It's been a year and I don't really know them. There's a simple solution to that. It's called social media, right? It's where shallow and meaningless relationships start and live.
Yep.
Go and friend them, go and follow them, and just start commenting on and liking their stuff occasionally. And that will warm up that relationship to the point where eventually it won't be weird for you to just say, hey, I saw you posted on that thing the other day. I thought that was cool. I have a question about it. Something
exactly. Like you can, if you post a little bit, then you can send a direct message and say, this was so funny. I loved this. And then sometimes you get interaction.
Yeah.
Now you got a relationship going.
So I think I overfocus when I talk through this information on what these things are, but the order of them is actually the reason why we're talking about this. Like, it's easy to skip over to social media. You know what I mean? It's easy to skip there because it's easiest to see that you're not posting on social media. But the reality is posting on social media is only as helpful as the number of people you have that follow you on social media. How do you get people to follow you on social media? You have to actually know them somehow. So they have to be in your database. So it all starts with a foundation, right? That's the foundation that you build your house up with other stuff, which is social media and newsletter. Database size. How many people do you need the contact information for to meet your goals if you're selling your sphere? It's a simple calculation. This is based on a whole bunch of research that Andy and I did. And it has to do with like the buyer's journey for real estate and stuff like that. But it's essentially, if you want to sell X number of houses to your sphere in the next year, you need 10 times that number of people at least in your database. And I'm not talking names. I'm talking all their contact information. And then from there, ideally, they're following you on social media, right? Because if not, you can't market to them, period. Which means all you can do is like go and physically find them somewhere and talk to them, which is way less efficient. So 10x your transaction goal. And what I think you'll find, you might say, oh, I have 400 people in my database. I'm not selling 40 deals a year. Well, how come? Go and look at those 400 people and ask yourself, why aren't you selling 40 houses to them a year? It's because you actually have 200 people. And the other 200 are their spouses. Or 100 of those people are in their 20s. Or 100 of those people are actually vendors you've worked with before who are never going to be your clients because they only know you in a professional capacity or something like that. Or maybe none of them follow you on social media and you don't have their email address, so you never talk to them. You never communicate with them in any way. So anyways, simple calculation. You want to sell 20 homes to your sphere? You need at least 200 people in your database.
Well, and so much of whether you 10% of your database does a transaction with you in a given year depends on how good your touches are, how much value you provide. I've seen anywhere from calculate it based on 15% of your database to calculate it on 3% of your database, honestly. And I think the variance between 3 and 15% all has to do with the quality of your interaction.
Yeah. I mean, it's your sphere conversion rate,
right?
At the end of the day, like we use this 10x goal as a minimum, but like then you can no one can help you do this. You have to scroll through your database and look for holes and like do some tagging, retag your A's, B's, and C's. And if you have A's that like haven't bought a house in 10 years, they're probably going to move pretty soon. That's what the average data shows. If you have A's that like haven't moved in 20 years, look it up. Maybe they did and you just missed it, in which case you're failing. Figure out how you can move your B's to A's. Why are they B's and not A's? Maybe you just need a little bit of investment there in a relationship via social media to get them to be closer to an A. So you can do that analysis, just think about where the holes are in your database. Here's the ideal marketing routine. I used to say up until a few months ago that I thought everyone should shoot for at least 9 social media posts per month. The agents that are winning are doing 30 consistently. So do 30, do one a day. And the key to that is you're not doing one a day. You are pre-scheduling 15 to 20 posts per month. Connie does this. She told me the other day, she's like, Cooper, I just scheduled a month's worth of Instagram content. Literally all she does for Instagram, go and look at it, it's genius. Whenever she's on a showing, she takes pictures of things that are cool or weird. Almost every house you go into has something that's cool or weird in it. Take pictures and use them for your social media. Boom, done. You can use InStock Social. Just schedule out your social media. So schedule it once. So you're not doing one a day. You're spending an hour a month to get almost every day done. And then you're filling in with other stuff, maybe 3 posts per week on social media. There's stuff that you're just coming up with, or you sold a house, or, you're in a cool place, you went to a restaurant, like whatever is just happening in your life. Every day you should be on social media, liking and commenting on other people's stuff. Like I said, that's how you warm up relationships. That's how you keep relationships warm. It's just by little interactions on social media. There's a lot of people on social media who don't get a lot of likes and comments on their posts. What better way to get them to like you than to just start paying attention to them? There's lots of people that just want to be listened to, And then 1 newsletter a month. Takes discipline. Connie, every Tuesday morning at 11 a.m. has a productivity group that she leads where she gets together with agents and they make commitments to each other of what they're going to do. A lot of that focuses on doing your touches, doing your marketing. Guess what happens right before the productivity meeting? Brew and do with the JPW crew. We just make fancy coffee and you can come and sit down and work on projects with us. Andy and I are in there every Tuesday just working on projects. We're there to help. But basically what you could do is commit to something in Connie's productivity group, come in right beforehand and just do it. Get it done in one morning a week. That's
those just started. There's already 6-7 agents in those groups. So there's room for plenty more.
Yeah. Here's some of my top marketing tips for 2022. Just stuff I think is like low-hanging fruit that I don't see that many agents doing. Take pictures and videos, everything. Like just have your phone out. You have to take things, video and photo should always be done vertically, right? Because most of social media is consumed on a cell phone. And so you don't hold your cell phone like this when you're going through Instagram. It's vertically. So take all your photos and videos vertically and just have it out and ready, like maybe you keep your phone in your purse. That's bad because you got to find your purse and then find your phone in your purse in order to capture a moment, Get one of those cool holsters or something. I don't know. Keep it in the breast pocket of your coat. Take pictures and videos of everything. You see a cool house. You see a cool animal. You see something cool in the house. You see something weird. Just document stuff. Because then what you can do is just go through your camera reel once a month and turn it into social media content. It's the easiest way to get your own organic content.
One other suggestion, I know this maybe directly contradicts what you just said, Cooper. I think that the best content is content we generate that's personal and local. But it also, if you're looking for good content, Cooper mentioned InStock Social. You can also go on Instagram and just go to a realtor that you like who does good social media stuff and look at the hashtags in their Instagram stuff. Click on a couple of those hashtags and see which hashtags are most followed, like hashtag real estate agent, hashtag real estate, whatever. And you're going to find so much good content out there. Funny stuff, interesting stuff. There's so much. And if you just, if you subscribe to those hashtags or if you follow those realtors, you're just going to see a ton of good content in your Instagram feed as well.
Well, the easiest way is just use the content I send you every week. We create 3 social media posts a week and I send it to your inbox. I don't know if you've done it yet, but we have it set up so you just click on the image and it automatically downloads to your phone. Toggle over, create a post, put the image on it. And so that's 3 posts a week. Maybe you don't like 1 out of 3, so that's still 2 posts a week. That's 8 posts a month minimum, even if you don't like a third of them that are just done for you, not to mention any of the other stuff. So start using our content. And the reason I say start using that content is because that's all original stuff. Most of it is at least original stuff that no one else is going to have. So InStock Social, other people have that. That's all like regurgitated content, basically. Do your social media routine, comment and like every day. I think we just like way overlook how easy it is to maintain and warm up relationships via social media. It's so easy. Go right now and just on all your social medias and just follow and friend everybody that you've ever met and ever thought about. Just do it. You'll get a bunch of likes and follows back. It helps you get more in your news feed, so you have more to like and comment on. I think that's just an opportunity. Like you should do that at least once a year. And then the last thing, this is a strategy that I think it's hard to remember, but like whenever you meet someone, like the second after you meet them, you should pull open your cell phone and like go and follow them on social media, like right away, and then message them and say, hey, great to meet you. Like follow up. It's almost like a business card, but you give someone your business card and they throw it away, but you connect with them on social media and then you get to see their stuff and you get to like and comment on their stuff. So you get to stay in touch with them, whether they want you in touch with them or not. So follow up on social media based on your real world interactions. Anything else to add there, Brian?
I don't think so. I'm agreeing with everything that you said.
Yeah. So, I mean, interesting enough, a lot of it is just like be more active on social media, but like you don't have to be a social media influencer type person. Just like and comment on stuff.
You don't even have to be on social media that much, honestly. You really don't. I've really tried to create a drawback for myself from social media. With everything going on with social media, I don't want to be on there very much. And so I've gotten very specific with what I'm doing. I'm like, I'm only going on social media if I have a purpose for being there. And I've just kind of found that it doesn't take long to create a post and then to get on for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and just like go through your news feed, like some stuff, comment on some stuff. You can do all of that in a half an hour a day and then get the hell off Facebook and Instagram.
Could be 5 minutes a day.
Yeah.
Could be 5 minutes.
On there. You don't need to be on there much.
Yeah. I mean, I believe that at the core of social media usage, people go to social media for entertainment. That's why they pull it out, because they want to pass the time. That's not why you want to use social media. You want to use social media for your business.
Exactly.
Through your relationships. So when you go to social media, you're working. You're not being entertained. You know what I mean? Like, just think about it that way, and then you'll be able to stay focused and do it in 5 to 10 minutes a day. Okay, touch calendars.
Touch calendars. This is just an idea I wanted to float as a time efficiency hack. I mean, this goes right along with what Cooper was just saying about coming up with potentially social media posts for a whole month. I think that you could take some time. You could probably take a half a day this month and come up with a touch calendar for an entire year. I think, honestly, one of the reasons I think a lot of agents don't do a whole lot of social media content is that the process of sitting there like, I got to post something today. What should I post today? And then thinking about what you want to post and looking for content kind of sucks. But I think we could save a ton of time if we came up with a calendar. So here's just an example of an idea. I don't know if this is practical, but you could come up with an idea for how you're going to structure your weeks in terms of content. For example, you could say like, okay, I'm going to at least try to every Monday post something about mindset or positivity or an encouraging thought, kind of mindset Mondays. Maybe Tuesdays are the day that you highlight a service you provide or a good story of working with a client or pictures you took in a house, an interesting house post from Cooper or something like that, or even a home maintenance tip. Maybe Wednesday is a JPW post, something, one of the marketing JPW posts. Maybe Thursday, you post something every Thursday that's of personal interest, sports, kids, a passion of yours, whatever. And then maybe Fridays are for highlighting an open house or a recently sold or something like that. Maybe Saturdays are humor. I think that maybe having a category for every day of the week could help take away some of the thinking and work when you're in that week. And then if you come up with a weekly vague idea of what you're going to do, like here's what I'm doing Mondays, here's what I'm doing Tuesdays, then what you can do is you can go through a yearly calendar and start plugging in some ideas. Again, this is going to take some time, but I bet we could do it in a half day or a day, and you'll save yourself so much time for the year. So for example, let's say on Tuesdays, you've decided that on Tuesdays, you want to highlight some kind of home maintenance tip or something like that. You want to do every Tuesday a short video. Well, then now you know, okay, I need 52 weeks of home maintenance tips. The first thing I would do is I'd start thinking of the stuff that I know about. And I'd say like, okay, week 1, I'm going to talk about furnace filters and why they're important. Week 2, I'm going to talk about gutters and how they protect your house and why it's so important to have downspouts securely attached. It could be a 30-second or 1-minute video. Week 3, What's the best way to touch up paint without having to repaint a whole wall? And if you don't know much about how houses work, there's this amazing thing called YouTube that has all the information on the planet and tells you everything about everything you want to know. You can just go into YouTube and search up home maintenance tips, home improvement ideas, whatever. How do furnaces work? How does my water softener work? How to, whatever it might be. You can come up with anything. I mean, you can come up with 200 ideas for home maintenance on YouTube, and then start plugging in those ideas into each Tuesday of the year. And now you know what you're doing pretty much every Tuesday for the whole year. And all you got to do as you're coming up to Tuesday is figure out, oh, today I'm going to talk about gutters. Okay, I better brush up on gutters. And you've got your content and you're ready to go. I think that if you do that, if you plan, schedule, and set in motion those things now, it's going to relieve so much of the hassle of trying to come up with content. And you're going to realize pretty quickly there's so much good content out there to use. I'm not just talking about social media touches, though. I think it's smart to spend time right now in the back end of the year coming up with a plan, a touch calendar for your whole year. For example, I think it's smart to right now plan your client events. We talk about trying to have at least 4 events a year. Now, 2 potential events are already done for you at JP Willman. You got the date night to go and you got the pie giveaway. Even if you're not crazy about those, creating 4 events a year is really not very hard, especially if you think, maybe do one bigger one, like maybe you do the date night to go, or maybe you do the, Dylan Maitland once a year likes to rent out a theater and have all of his clients come watch a movie. The Fosters like to do a drive-in in the park, stuff like that. Maybe do one big event a year, 2 smaller events a year, happy hours or whatever, and maybe even consider one virtual event this year. I would love to see someone make one of their touches a virtual event. Maybe something like a new buyer seminar or an Ask the Realtor seminar, and you give away, you do a drawing. Anyone who attends this seminar is going to be entered to win an iPad or, a free plane ticket to anywhere in the US. $500 is well worth it if you're getting good engagement. So scheduling out those touches in advance, I think, is going to save you so much work. Another thing you might consider scheduling out this year is, who are the people that you really want to make sure you get in front with one-on-one? Make a list of depending on your sphere size, number is going to vary a lot, but maybe make a list of your 10 to say 30 influencers. Who are the people that you know who both will be advocates for you and who also know a lot of people? And make it a point this year to really focus on them and figure out, okay, if these are the 15 people I want to have one-on-ones with, and let's say I want to have at least 2 one-on-ones with them this year, maybe you could even say 4 one-on-ones with them this year. Okay, well, that means I need to schedule them twice a month or even just once a month. But whatever's realistic for you, come up with an idea of who you want to meet with, and then start to try to say, like, I'm going to try to meet with him somewhere in the spring. I'm going to try to meet with her this summer, and just start getting those events, those meetings in place on your calendar. Last thing I want to say about that is that this is such a good time. This is kind of not related to the touch calendar thing, but this is such a good time to reach out to your sphere, and you've got a built-in excuse to reach out to your sphere, even people you don't know that well, and it's to make holiday calls. What's going on for the holidays? How you guys doing? How was your year? What do you got plans? What are your plans for Christmas? Merry Christmas, happy holidays, whatever. Focus on the forward questions, and then make sure that as you're making those calls, you're updating your contact list. You don't even have to do it in a super gross salesy way. You can just say whatever you're going to say, happy holidays, ask your questions, and then say, hey, by the way, I'm updating my contact information. Are you still using the Gmail address? Is Kara still using the Hotmail one? That's as hard as it has to be. Okay. But anyway, my bigger point is, I think it would save you guys a lot of work, all of us, if we kind of come up with that yearly content calendar or touch calendar. Even if it's not all the way filled in, I bet you can spend a half a day and do most of that work for the whole year.
Definitely. Well, we have a few minutes left here before the end of the hour. So we'd love to hear from you guys. Just Are there things looking out to 2022 that you're worried about? Things you're excited to try? What do you think are going to be your challenges? Questions about any of the stuff we covered?
I would even be interested in hearing if anyone's kind of like, I'm going to do this year. This is a hole in my business that I'm going to plug, and here's how I'm going to do it this year. Well, I'll tell you that for me, Coop, it is the social media touch calendar. That's going to be a thing for me this year. I post pretty regularly, but I do it pretty haphazardly, and I want to get systematic about it this year because I bleed too much time trying to come up with stuff that I'm like and I'm excited about.
Yeah, I can dig it. I think it's important just to have like that backlog too. If I don't know if you guys have noticed, I haven't done a weekly marketing video in a couple of weeks. And that's actually because specifically when I started doing those, I created the master list of topics and I exhausted it.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? Because I've done 40 of them now or something.
Yeah.
But I exhausted it, right? And so I'm like demotivated because I'm like, I can't come up with anything good, or I already did it, or like that video didn't do very well. But I need to make the plan. I need to make another list. So that when it comes time to do a video, I don't have to just come up with one. I can just look at the list and do it.
Yep. And the good news is
in the survey, most people said they needed either a mindset motivation change. Brian and Champ are the best people to go to for that.
I love.
And then the second most popular answer to what they need most to grow their business is better marketing. Come talk to me. Let's meet one-on-one. I'll do an audit. We'll talk about where your gaps are. Reuse some of your videos. Absolutely, Julie. I will do that. I will do it indeed and make them better the second time. And then the number one thing people said that's the biggest opportunity for business growth was better conversion from my sphere. 6 out of 7 people that responded said that. And the key is pretty much the only thing we've talked about this whole time: touches. You have to keep getting in front of people. You have to keep communicating with people. The easiest ways to do that are newsletter and social media. The hardest ways are actual real touches where you're actually one-to-one. But Connie is a master of that, and she is literally just like helping agents to get better at that every Tuesday morning at 11 a.m. So
can I say something about mindset? When we started out this webinar, we talked about the big why. And the big why, thinking about the big why, really assumes that you have a motivated, positive mindset. I do want to say, I listened to a podcast from a guy named Adam Grant, who's got a podcast called Work Life. He's got a terrific TED Talk, this guy, Adam Grant, on a phenomenon called languishing. And over the past 2 years, I'm not going to get the statistics exactly right, but over the past 2 years, he said that something like 45 to 50% of people have reported this experience or this feeling of languishing in their work, and offers some really helpful suggestions to get past that. So I just wanted to say, when Cooper says Brian and Champ are the guys to talk to, I do want to say, I think that I'm excited to talk to you, even if you're the mindset thing you're trying to figure out isn't like, I'm trying to figure out how to take over the world. I'm motivated. I want a bigger goal. I want a bigger why. If you're kind of in the spot where you're like, man, I'm kind of struggling to even want to work. I'm kind of struggling to even like want to do anything anymore. I really wrestle with like wasting time and procrastination and blah, blah, blah. That's something I would love to talk with you about as well, because you're not alone. There's a lot of people in the workplace right now who are dealing with weird kind of like, I've never struggled with motivation. I've never had trouble like getting going, and now I really do. And what's wrong with me? Nothing's wrong with you. This has been a really tough couple of years. So if that's the kind of the mindset thing you're struggling with, I want to have lunch with you as well. And we'll come up with some solutions.
The other thing that helps me is like, I realize that I have certain people in my life, whether it's a friend or even just like an acquaintance or a family member, there's certain people that when I sit down and talk to them one-on-one for an hour, I always come away with my mind opened a little bit.
Mhm.
And those might be the people that you might need to seek out, even if they have nothing, they have no idea what's going on with their, profession. Maybe they're nothing to do with business or real estate, but they're just those sort of people that open your mind. Like having those types of conversations could really help you get some more clarity, or just like shift that mindset to be like more open to things, or feel better about yourself so you can take some risks or something, or innovate or something like that. But just seek out the people in your life that have helped you do that in the past. And sometimes it's not even like they're not telling you the solutions. They're just giving you a feeling,
Mhm.
of hope or confidence or excitement or something like that.
Honestly, I can't believe sometimes how helpful and motivating it is just to be heard. Just to be heard, seen, understood by someone who kind of like, yeah, man, that makes sense. I've been there too. I get it. Like just feeling heard is really motivating and can heal some of that like lack of motivation stuff. Anything else? Beautiful. Good stuff, Coop.
Yeah, well, if you guys need anything, you know where to find us.
You bet.
We're here. And if you come Tuesday mornings, free luxury coffee. It's a pretty good deal.
Don't miss it.
Britt has cookies a lot too. If you guys don't come in here and eat some of those cookies, I will eat them all.
Oh my gosh, they're so good. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. I hope you have a lovely rest of your week.
Thanks, everybody.